the prize fight Punchout between single-family and multifamily housing. We've got Jessica Yu on the pod versus me, Hampton Scurlock, on today's episode of the Investor Tribe podcast.
I'm the mediator. Let's talk about it. I'm Milton Ali.
And I'm Hampton Scurlock.
And we want to welcome you to the Investor Tribe podcast.
Late night grind, got the cash in the flow. Flipping these dreams, watch the portfolio grow. Brick by brick, stacking wealth in the zone. Investor Tribe, OBS, where the hustle is home.
And today's episode is sponsored by
Us.
INVTribe.com. Also on the socials, X, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Coming soon to Spotify and iHeart. We're working on that. And we'll release the podcast every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. But we may be ramping that up soon because there's been such a demand. And we're probably dropping 2 podcasts a week.
2?
Yes.
You get,
months here.
You get double Milton?
Double Milton. We're going to bring out the wide, the double wide.
The double wide. The double wide. Oh.
The double wide.
The double wide. You know, twice as much Hampton. You get twice as much Hampton. And it's going to be absolutely amazing. And what we want to do is, Jessica Yu is in the building. So we want to welcome you back.
Thank you.
So what have you been up to in your crazy, busy life?
Oh, just out there managing contractors, filling vacancies, slinging houses, getting that bag while I can,
Good. And so we're going to have to talk about offline some of your contractors. I've been having a good time with contractors.
Always. It's like herding cats.
Well, there is that. Are you finding that your work is coming along with a high degree of speed, or is it slower? Like, what are you noticing out here?
I feel like if a contractor tells you 4 weeks, go ahead and just assume 6. And I feel like that's a general rule of thumb. Don't you agree from your experience?
I was going to say, double it.
Yeah, or double it.
At 2 weeks, double it, depending on the scenario.
Because we always hope for the best, and the reality is things are always going to come up. There's so many people involved in the project, from the contractor to the subs, and if there's inspectors involved, and if there's any other decision makers, like, heck, I could be the one who's holding it up because I can't decide if I want this tile or this tile.
Or you're waiting.
That's almost never.
Right. Or the delivery, or maybe there's not the material in stock and you have to wait for the, you know what I mean? It's just keys go missing. It's just anything could happen.
Permits, inspections. And have you had this is a little bit off topic, but we talk about inflation and, paying for these things and making, profitable deals. Have you bought or had a key made recently?
I actually sent a locksmith out to a property today.
And well, I know that was probably a very
my fourplex.
All right, multifamily, here we come.
Multifamily, here it is. She's already shots fired.
I'm just saying it just happens to naturally segue. But please finish your thought.
Oh no,
keys.
I checked out the other day and was getting some keys made for a property. I had 4 keys made, and I guess it's been a while since I had keys made, or they rang me up $16. And I had a mini heart attack. It's not, we're in Kentucky. Prices are usually low. Keys have been like $1.89 or less for forever. And all of a sudden, they're $4+ actually $5 a piece for 3 keys with $16. And the guy behind me looked at me like, that rang up wrong. I was like, I'm not crazy. And but they said, oh no, the prices went way up, and now and these were just basic keys. They didn't have, a mouse on them or a college team, or they weren't made of solid 24 karat gold. These were the basic cheap keys. And so prices change, material prices change. I know we'd seen that with wood, drywall, things go up and down, but
maybe we should start getting into a different business. We should start making keys.
I can see.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's ridiculous. $5 for a key.
I know a locksmith that's trying to sell.
I know, right? Oh my gosh!
Those mobile locksmiths, they're so convenient to be able to run out to a property and change keys, and get you into a property or rekey. It saves a lot of time, but they're costly, but you pay for the convenience, I guess.
Exactly. There's always a trade-off, right? There's a cost to convenience and goods, dependable service. Like I went yesterday. I told my locksmith yesterday he was out there at 8 a.m. this morning. 8:15. He texted me.
Well, I
See,
don't want
there you
to.
go.
I don't want to step on or get in trouble with the guy who says this stuff on TV. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit, say it a little different. Let's get ready to argue.
So
I may have the face
It's a
of
friendly
a lover,
banter.
but today I'm going to be a fighter. I'm going to take Jessica down because I'm going to be defending and talking about single family investing, and I'm going to champion it. She's going to
So
champion.
who's better? So
multifamily
what's
investing.
better? Is it single family or multifamily? Right? And so in this corner, we have Jessica Yu, who owns several investment properties, both single family and multifamily. And we also have in this corner, we have Hampton Skurlock, who owns a lot of single family homes. And so today we're going to have the punch out between Jessica Yu and Hampton Skurlock. I'm Milton Ali. I am your mediator / referee, and I alone, along with you, the audience, will determine the winner and what's best for most investors to invest, whether it's single family or multifamily. Round one. Ding, 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 ding. So, Jessica.
You should have told me to bring my mitts. I actually have mitts.
And so do I actually, because yes, we were boxing at the same gym for a while.
I didn't realize.
We had the same coach for, same trainer for a while too.
Jab, jab, hook, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, yeah. So, but this is not that.
All right.
Right? So what drew you to multifamily?
Okay, so to be honest, I needed to buy something. And the numbers worked.
You didn't mean, so you stumbled upon multifamily is what you're saying.
Sometimes those kind of things happen, It's like you just have this imagination, right? Like you imagine the ideal something, and then you end up with something totally different, right?
Right.
So I bought, I'll just give you a story of an example, right? So there was an opportunity to buy a fourplex for, I think it was like a little over $300,000. Now, if you bought a house with that, let's say you're going to put 20% down. Like, no matter how I fudged the numbers, the math was not going to work for a single family home. I mean, yeah, I might be getting something in a better location. I might have the chance of a better tenant. And at the end of the day, even at 7% interest, the numbers worked on a multifamily because I had 4 units, right? So if I bought a $300,000 house that could maybe rent for, say, $2,500, right? And my mortgage payments were, let's say, $1,800 a month. After you remove taxes, insurance, property management, vacancy, repairs, and, you take out all those expenses, it's not really any cash flow. When I did that with this fourplex, there's 4 units at the time paying $900 with upswing. Would you rather have $3,600 a month or $2,500? I mean, yeah, you get extra expenses, but even after factoring in water and trash and all that, I still had several $100s cash flow. So, I mean, it was a very logical and financial decision. Does that make sense?
Right.
That I couldn't make it work with a single family house.
All right, that's so you're roughed up a little bit over there, Hampton.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Before you punch back, describe a moment you realize that single family was going to be the thing for you? Because I know you own more, and we've all owned both single and multifamily. Today's episode is also brought to you by AliSellsLouisville.com. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, go to AliSellsLouisville.com. That's AliSellsLouisville.com. And so, Hampton, can you describe what made you go into single family and want to really just live there, just as far as in your investment portfolio? What drove that decision?
Well, it's interesting you use the words live there because
Right.
I found that more people wanted to live there in houses versus apartments. The American dream is to live in a house or buy a house. It wasn't necessarily to live in an apartment with 3 other people that may cook too loud or take your parking spot or use your trash can or mess with your mail, or the kids are too loud or they run across the steps,
or they're smokers,
or they have a fire in their apartment and the electric gets shut off and it shuts off everything, the whole building. You can ask me this because I've had a multifamily before, and that's why I really, really love single families, because you don't have the extra expenses. The tenants are usually mowing their own grass, shoveling their own driveways, paying their own utilities, versus in a multifamily, sometimes you have to eat those expenses. They come out of your bottom line. In the single family houses, people stayed longer. They were comfortable. I had a lot more turnover with multifamilies. I don't know what the national averages are, but I'm willing to bet there's probably at least 1.5 times more turnover. The turnover rate's 1.5 faster in the multifamily apartment space versus houses. Other thing I really like with houses is there's an abundant supply of them. You can find them that are distressed, that are off market, on market. There's the ability to have multiple exit strategies as well. So you can rent them out. You can lease option to tenants. You can owner finance them to somebody. If you need to raise a little money, you could sell it. You could refinance or borrow out of it. Versus if I had 4 houses, I could just sell one of them or lease option one. But if I had a 4-plex, I got to sell that whole thing or refinance the whole thing, and I can't lease option it or owner finance it. Generally, it's a little more restrictive. So the ease of entry was better for me for single families. The multiple exit strategies I liked of having the single family houses. And when you're going to sell a house, there's a wide, you can sell to an investor, you can sell to a homeowner. But if you're going to sell a 4-plex or multifamily, you're typically only going to sell to an investor who wants a deal or is looking at the bottom line, and usually wants a discount or a good deal to make the numbers work.
Jessica?
Well, I can appreciate all of that, Hampton, and I'm not going to say that, I'm not going to discredit your experience. I will say, too, with multifamily, in a way you can also house hack, right? Because let's say you wanted to have people offset your rent. Well, you would have to share the house unless you had a separate sectioned off part of the house, like a walkout basement with its own kitchen and bathroom, right? In a 4-plex, you could live in one of the units and collect rent from the other 3 or 2 or 1 or whichever, right? And so there's a more clean separation between you if you chose to live in it versus your other tenants. And it's also a way for you to get into the market, and you can also kind of try it out, right? Because once you understand it, you can manage your tenants, what's going on if you're planning on living in it. And I would say if you're trying to do that, you can then plan your next purchase. And as long as it's under 4 units, 4 or under, you could still get traditional financing. Now, once you get above that, then you're going to need to go to commercial financing, which is really not that bad at all either. And it's also a way for you to scale, because you hear all these investors that have like 20 doors, like all these just like multiple, double, triple digit units. Like you can easily have, if you bought one every year, every 2 years, and let's just say that it was all like 4 units, right? You go 4 doors and then you move, and then let's say you're living in one, you rent out the other 3, then you technically have 8, but you have 7 doors that are producing for you. If you bought one house a year, you only have 2 doors. And I'm not saying the number is everything. I'm just saying that as far as like scaling and getting the number of units and also being able to afford it, that is another perspective that I would challenge you to consider, is you can get a lot of units a lot faster.
So you can't have Jessica, you outshine you on your own podcast. So that's where I'm seeing she's making some really valid points. What say you?
She's probably younger. She's probably smarter. She's got probably more endurance. I've got experience. I probably have a longer reach, in this fight.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
And that's okay, too.
That escalated quickly.
We're just having fun here.
You do have to scale, because now you're managing 4 instead of 1 tenant in one household. So I do acknowledge that's not for everyone.
And I think, it would be easier to buy, 28 units at a time versus 28 houses. But from what I've found or seen is that 28 unit apartment building, it's on the market or it's based on a cap rate, and they're usually not selling for big discounts unless there's something majorly wrong with it or it's a big turnaround value add play. But if I go out and find, 14 good houses and 14 houses that need work, and I'm able to get deals on all of them, I'm able to get much better price per unit and maybe have less headaches. But it may take me longer to find those 14 good deals and 14 okay deals on the houses than just buying one 28 unit building that may not be a good deal, but the numbers, may work. I know you'll hear one of my mentors talked about all the costs and turnover associated with multifamily. If you've got a manager, you've got the common area maintenance, you've got the utilities, and he was in single family, and he said he got talked into a multifamily because someone told him, "Oh, multifamily is so great because you have everybody under one roof."
Yeah,
and he heard that part. He listened to it, but then he got into it, and then he told me that's also the worst part is you got all these people under one roof.
Right.
So if one of them starts, dealing drugs or has a bug infestation, all of a sudden you've got 27 other units that have a bed bug infestation or that's got a fire and the electric gets cut to the whole building. Versus if you have your houses spread out, I looked at it as you're diversifying a bit because now rather than 28 units in one or 4 units, 4 or 28, however big your unit is, in one spot. If you've got 4 houses spread out or 28 houses spread out, you may get a couple of those that the area undergoes gentrification or huge price appreciation, and you've hit the jackpot on a couple of those houses just by having a little bit of geographical diversification.
I understand that, and I'm not saying that's that's a very valid point. More risk, more reward, buddy.
More risk.
You need to have that. I will say you need to have a little bit more of that risk tolerance, right? Because there is a chance you'll get one bad apple. And yet at the same time, like let's say you have a fourplex where you have one vacancy. You're still able to pay your mortgage.
That's a 25% vacancy as opposed to a 100% vacancy.
Exactly.
Right?
And yes, it's going to take you more time to find these single family homes, right? And this is where I would say there is management techniques, right? Knowing these things as you walk in, and you don't want to walk in blind. You want to acknowledge that these are all possibilities. You want to screen better. You want to manage well. You want to encourage your tenants to stay longer, report issues when they come up. And you know what? There's only one roof to change. Yeah, you might have 4 toilets and 4, kitchens and all that, but there's only one roof, right? You have 4 roofs, right? And there's also, I think people don't talk about this enough. There's every expense that you pay, whether it's for utilities, for repairs, for the purchase, all of that you can expense off of your taxes. And so I think that with multifamily, you have more of that to offset your income as well. Like more tax advantages. You can also get more from the cost segregation.
And this is some higher level stuff. And we probably should have put our disclaimer that we're not giving tax legal investment advice, but it's good to know these things. And there's some differences there too. The single families, we get to depreciate over, 27 and a half years. Commercial stuff, you're quite a bit longer, 39 and a half or so. And some of this has changed. So, consult your CPA on that. But so sometimes you can do a cost segregation study, but just if you didn't want to undergo that cost, you get to write off the single family houses a little quicker, or some of the small multifamily can be the same schedule. So
it kind of really depends on what you're looking to do. But I do like that about a larger building, more expenses, is that if you can benefit from tax depreciation and those tax benefits, I would say that's also one benefit of multifamily over single family. And then as you scale and you get more sophisticated, you can also raise money, right? And you might have access to more opportunities. And that you're talking sophistication, and you're obviously talking about planning and thinking ahead. So you're not trying to survive paycheck to paycheck. And that kind of leads me into our ad that we know our listeners don't want to live paycheck to paycheck.
That's right.
So they need to join us every week on the Investor Tribe podcast. Get out of the rat race and learn how to earn passive income on the Investor Tribe podcast with a new episode every week.
And go to invtribe.com. That's invtribe.com. Now, let's talk about a deal where the outcome surprised you, whether it's good or bad, and what strategy did you employ in order to make it work.
Well, I'm going to use the same example here with this fourplex that I bought, right? For a little bit over $300,000. I think it was around 7% interest. The cash was flowing. And over time, we actually raised the rent. Some of them were paying over $1,000 a month. So I've just bumped up my cash flow. Now, I will say that some things that surprised me were there is more maintenance. And I told you before, it was a purely financial decision. It got emotional.
Managing it right after you purchased it became emotional.
It became emotional after the fact. Yes.
I think we talked about this.
We
like
did.
You were calling. Yes, you had called me because I had a multifamily at the same time or something like that, and you were telling me about like, hey, this is a journey. Yeah.
Right. It's definitely a journey, and so I had to tell my bookkeeper to break down the numbers for me because I was like, I need to be reminded about why I bought this in the first place, and it was cash flowing. I was like, okay, doesn't make sense to offload it because, when you have management, things come up. That's when it taps into the emotion, right? And you have to kind of remind yourself of all these points that I've been making. There was a reason that I bought this in the first place, right? And then these are the advantages. Like, what else could I have done with this money? If I didn't buy this, I would have either not bought something because it didn't make sense, or I would have to, or I would have bought something that didn't make sense. And so now I have a cash flowing asset. Yeah, it's a little bit more management. And that's just part of the journey, right? You're not just going to buy something and expect it to be easy breezy.
It's not all roses and rainbows.
It is really not. It's really not. And that's why I think that people need to be honest about, the things that do come up. Like, oh, roaches. Oh, there's trash all over the place. And so now you're having these conversations with the tenants. Hey, clean up after yourself. Don't throw your crap outside, right? And then, tenants who accidentally, they don't know. They changed the locks. Your contractor can't use the master to get in. You find them, picking up rents, explaining to them. Because it's new management. They don't know you. You don't know them. And then you just got to keep looking at your P&L every month to keep you going because there was a reason you bought it.
So I do want to ask a question for both, and this will be more of a, go to your separate corners moment, all right? So what I wanted to ask both of you was, do you self-manage or do you hire property management for your portfolios? And what has been your experience up to this point doing it both ways?
Would you like to go first?
Well, I just talked, so you can go if you'd like.
That sounds good. Yeah, when I first started, I was told nobody's going to take as good of a care of the property as you. But then as you scale up, a lot of investors do get to a point where they need help, or there's not enough time in a day, or they'd rather be buying properties than dealing with the tenant issues Jessica was talking about of trash and parking space or tenant squabbles that a lot of times we shouldn't be getting involved in anyway, but they still drag the property manager owner into a lot of the things that do come up. But it's what was the beginning of that question? Because I feel like I got off on a side tangent. Oh, self-manage. Okay, yes.
Yeah, self-manage versus property. And I know it gets emotional because it's literally this thing where even you are trying to figure it out, and it's fluid. For a lot of my investor clients, it's very fluid. I'm selling a multifamily right now. I'm selling a fourplex right now, and we just switched property management companies. I don't do property management, but I refer them over, and it's a process and it's a lot. And it's almost like this constant tension, 2 years of property management, 1 year and a half year of non-property, there's this constant relationship, this tension. What about you, Jessica?
So in my journey, I have tried both, and I've tried a couple different property management companies because I wanted to see how they work and I wanted to compare them. I've also had someone who just leased my homes for me, and I tried it myself. And this is a little higher level, but if you want to get real estate professional status, there's something called active participation, and you have to literally participate, do something in your business. So another way to check off that box is you need to have, I don't remember how many, certain number of hours every year that you're working in your business. And management is a big part of that. So if you have a property manager manage everything, you're not materially participating in your business. You cannot get those tax benefits. But that is a topic for another day. So I tried a couple of properties where I let someone else manage it. I kind of paid attention to how they did it, the type of tenants they put in, their communication, just to see if I was satisfied, and also because I wanted to know so I can refer them to other people. I don't want to just blindly give away referrals. I want to at least have some substance and say, this is what I like, this is what I didn't like, this was my experience, you've been warned, or do your own due diligence. For the most part, I manage most of my own. That's also part of the headache and the emotional distress sometimes. However, it's just part of it. It's part of the game, you know?
It's almost like y'all just want to cry right now. It's just...
Some days. Some days.
But honestly, if you can pick better tenants to go in, it makes the management a lot easier because you just touch base when something's broken or when they don't pay rent. That is a whole nother story. Yeah, but all that is to say, I do have people I consult sometimes when it's a difficult situation. But for the most part, I do manage a lot of my own self-management. I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot. And so I think that in the process, you know, it's just, you're just earning your stripes, right?
Of course. Yes, of course. When it comes to buying a home or refinancing, Supreme Lending makes the process smooth, fast, and personal, with expert guidance every step of the way. With competitive rates, on-time closing, and a team committed to creating customers for life, they're a lender you can trust. Visit supremelending.com. That's supremelending.com to get started on your home financing journey today. What has been your toughest property management situation?
Gosh, it goes back to the self-management, thing. I like to self-manage my own properties initially, and then as we scaled up, we thought, we'll turn a couple over to property managers. And it was nice initially because they're going to handle the phone calls. They're going to rent out this. It was a fourplex, and I was tired of dealing with the tenant squabbles of somebody took my parking space, somebody's messing with my mail, so-and-so's kid's too loud, somebody's cooking bacon and it smells delicious. Like they're complaining about everything. And I was like, you get tired of dealing with it. Like, we're all grown people, you get over it. We have assigned parking spaces. If you got visitors, park somewhere else, respect each other. So I handed it off to a management company. It's feeling good. Wife was happy I did it because she didn't like answering phone calls, or she could tell when I was answering phone calls and I have to repeat silly things like, don't touch other people's mail. Don't park in other people's spots. Don't put your trash in other people's trash. Like common sense things. So I was real happy when I turned this over to a property management company, and that went okay for several weeks. And then a vacancy sat, and I was even sending them people that could rent the property. It sat, and they said, we want to repaint it. And so they repainted it and sent me a bill for about 2.5 times as much as I'd ever, paid to paint a whole house. And then they still didn't have it rented like 3 months later, even with, dropping the price. And I sent 3 people that were ready to rent and qualified, and they still didn't get somebody in there. And then they tried to send me another bill for repainting the unit that they hadn't even rented yet. It's like, your people did such a bad job. The paint job didn't last 3 months when it was sitting vacant, or you didn't do it right the first time. You want me to pay for this twice? And they didn't. It was lack of communication. There was some more turnover. It took them longer to get tenants in the property. Everything was more expensive, but it was nice for those, a couple months to not have to answer those phone calls. But it cost me management fees and time and delay. And I did, a couple of years later, I tried another management company, and it went better than the first time, but it still wasn't, ideal. So it's property management's not for the faint of heart. Not everybody's cut out to be a property manager or be a landlord. You'll hear lots of sob stories, lots of excuses. You've got to, be a problem solver, and get creative in your solutions.
It seems like it does require a different skill set. And Jessica, what has been your worst property management story, if you have one?
Okay, so it is the fourplex because it's high management, but I'm supposed to advocate.
That is so true. That's so true. Yeah. So back in your corner.
Team multifamily. But to be fair, it's because I have 4 when you have 1. So it's expected, right? But remember, I'm also getting more cha-ching than you, so.
So you know what? So
4, though.
All right. So as the referee here, you did cheat and say your worst property management story was with a multifamily when you clearly own and you're advocating for single. So did you use that tactically? Was that tactically?
It was the worst.
It was like, hey, it was the worst. So you're encouraging people to buy single family because your worst situation. So you're going to have to be responding kind.
Well, I'm not saying it was my worst because the question was it was the toughest, right?
The toughest.
Now, I didn't say that the better option would be the easier option. The easiest option is to get, a single family and just throw someone in there that it doesn't need anything. That's great. You're just not going to get any cash flow from it, right? You're going to be paying top dollar for that area, for the number of updates that you're making. So I'm not going to lie that, just factually, you have 4 toilets, kitchens, tenants, or whatever, 5, 6, 10, right? You're going to statistically have more calls. That's just a fact. All right. Which not everyone can swallow, which I respect your ability, to acknowledge that and go single fam. For those of you who do have the bandwidth for it, you just got to understand what you're walking into, right? It could be tough. It can be tough, and it can also pay off because as an investor, you're looking at things from a financial perspective, very objectively. It's not emotional. This is what homeowners do. Home ownership is emotional. You walk in and you're like, oh, I love this color. I love this kitchen. No, you don't do that with an investment. You don't fall in love with your Coca-Cola stock or your Nvidia. You look at the number that they get you, right, in the return. So with that being said, yes, there are leaks. There are roaches sometimes, and you have to address those things. How do I pay rent? There's just a lot more that can come up with a multifamily. And again, if you have the bandwidth and you are able to tough it out, smooth out those issues, get it pretty turnkey, every month they're just gonna, you have your plumber on call, you're proactive, you're not just trying to patch things up, and then you explain to the tenants how to do things, you're going to eliminate a lot of these things. You start threatening to fine them if they continue to do certain behaviors, get them in line. And so I think that a lot of this is really being able to manage your people and set the right expectations. And if you're too hands off, it's not going to work. But once you put in the hard work, you train them, then you can maybe lay off a little bit.
All right. So I have the scorecard. So so now let's, what we're going to do is put up the split screen with both, Jessica Yu and Hampton Scurlock, and we're going to practically grade the scorecard right now. And so with 379 points, Jessica Yu has 379 points of the scorecard, and Hampton Scurlock has 379 points, and it is a draw. So what we're going to do here is it's a draw. And no matter what your strategy is, whether it is single family or multifamily, please get people in your life. Join the tribe. And it's literally all about what's best for you. Now, I've owned both. I've owned single family and multifamily. I've had bad experiences with single family, bad experiences with multifamily. Both of them can provide financial freedom at one point. And it's good to have multifamily because you do have the flexibility and there is a lot more doors and you can scale and make income. You can also do the same with single family. And there are so many opportunities. One of the main advantages of having single family is what we talked about here is that if you needed to get out of it, you can sell a single family quicker than you can sell a multifamily. And so it's so important to have that. So I want to thank Jessica, you for joining us yet again, gracing us with your presence. And we just had a great time with you today. And as always, Hampton, it's good that you showed up. It's glad that you showed up again here. And all right, and I'm Milton Ali.
And I'm Hampton Scurlock, and I'm going to do a quick ad before we wrap up.
Oh, yeah, do that.
Because running a small business is hard. And you shouldn't have to be an editor, an actor, a brand strategist too. Our friends at Bespoke Marketing can help you look great while you do what you do best. Visit them at bespokemarketing.org. Bespoke Marketing, connections tailor-made.
I'm Milton Ali.
And I'm Hampton Scurlock.
And we'll catch you on the flip side of the Investor Tribe.
The Investor Tribe podcast is brought to you by the Investor Tribe, all rights reserved, featuring Hampton Scurlock and Milton Ali, executive producer Drew Cookenmaster, produced and distributed by Bespoke Marketing.